Hello and welcome to this tutorial in which we will see how to complete the assessment report of our project in the GRECA platform. Once we have created our profile, the platform will take us to My Assessment section, where we can start a new one. Before starting, we must select whether we are going to follow the form designed for startups or for SMEs. In this case, we're going to choose Startup. As you can see in the index on the left, the questionnaire collects information on different aspects of the project, starting with the technology readiness level, going through the team readiness level, the market attractiveness level, the business readiness level, and finally, the financial stability level. If you have doubts about any of these concepts, you will find an information button at the top right of your screen. Let's start with the technology readiness level. This term refers to the state of development of our product and takes as a reference the NASA Tier L scale, which contemplates from the first idea for that product or service to the market launch of the final version of that product or service. In this case, we're going to assume that we have a product X at a Tier L7. That is, that we have a prototype that has been tested in an operational environment, such as a sample of potential future consumers. In addition, we need to indicate what percentage of revenue it represents now and will represent in the future. The latter could vary if we plan to launch a product Y, for example, that will also generate revenue in the future. Next, we have the team readiness level, which seeks to know the attractiveness that the team that integrates the project may have for investors. To do this, it will ask us for information such as our previous experience managing other projects, the composition by business function, previous experience again in this industry in which operate, our professional relevance within this industry, and our involvement in the project. We continue with the market attractiveness level, which the GRECA platform determines according to different variables. As we can see here, we start by determining the size of our potential market. To do this, we will indicate the range of our total addressable market, or the total demand for our product or service, our serviceable addressable market, or the size of the market segment we can address, and finally, the serviceable obtainable market, or the segment of the serviceable addressable market that we can realistically obtain. Next, we must indicate the stage of growth of our market and whether our activity is in any way constrained by current or future legislation. Finally, we must provide information regarding the well-known 5 forces of Porter and indicate whether or not new competitors in our market must overcome significant barriers to entry, whether or not the competitive environment is very crowded, the number of customers in the market and their trend, the number of potential suppliers and their negotiation power over us. In other words, if they can condition our activity in some way, either because of the specialization of our inputs or the lack of competition in the supplier market. And finally, if we have identified substitute for our product or service. We now move on to the business readiness level, which will determine the state of maturity of our project or company. We will start by indicating whether we are already generating traction in the market and its evolution. In which aspect our competitive advantage of our competitors is focused. If we have a developed and updated business plan. If we have identified key performance indicators and their current relevance in the project. And if we have any kind of partnership agreement or we are working on it. To conclude, we must provide certain financial information that determines our financial stability level, such as the funds contributed by the entrepreneurs of the project, the volume of the last round of financing, whatever its origin is, the age of this last round, the total funds raised for the project, and we must also identify our revenue growth driver, as well as its evolution over the last 12 months. As a last step, we must enter the actual revenues and EBITDA for the last 2 years. That means in the last 2 exercises. The expected revenues and EBITDA for this year, and also the projections for the next 2 years. The platform will then analyze the data provided and assign you an investment grade. If you click on your assessment, you will see a summary of all the information given to the platform, and you will also be able to download your assessment report, which will also analyze this information. The generation of this document can take a few seconds. And now we have it. Our assessment report. With the analysis of all the aspects that we saw in the questionnaire. And at the end of it, a summary of all of them, together with the investment grade and the company success readiness level that have been assigned to us. Remember that on the GRECA platform, only projects that received at least an investment grade of B will be accepted. If this is not the case, the projects will be considered too early to access private investment. And so far, this is the GRECA tutorial to create your own assessment report. Thank you and welcome to GRECA.